What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast. We talk about the latest and greatest cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, we're joined by Shannon Tynes.
What's up? What's up?
What's going on? So, welcome to this should be season 4, episode 8. So, welcome back. So we've changed the format slightly, so I probably don't have to say it for much longer, but now we're 1 week, 1 episode, 1 hour long, right? So it kind of matches the radio, and it's less production on my part. So definitely continue to check us out on your podcast platform of choice, as well as WDJY 99.1 FM in the Atlanta metro area and channel 10 public access in the DC Fairfax area. But without further ado, I'll give it to Shannon.
All right, everybody. So this article comes from BBC.com, written by Joe Tidy. And the title is "Children Hacking Their Own Schools for Fun," which is in quotes, Watchdog warns, right? So what they're talking about here, so it was the Information Commissioner's Office, right, which is based out of London, and they issued a warning about kids. And like in this article, they reference a child as young as 7 that has done this, that has done so-called, I don't want to say so-called, but they've done insider cyber attacks, right? They've had data breaches in their education systems by children that are going to the schools there, right? And some of them, they're doing it on dare, but some of them, they say once they're caught, I have an interest in cybersecurity and I just wanted to, I don't know if it's one of those things where like, I want to see how good I am at it or whatever, but this ain't the way to go about doing it, right? But they're kids. So maybe, they don't know there's some things you just don't do. You don't touch the stove when it's hot, right? Like don't do that. But, it was kind of interesting, right? So like, even though some of them did it on a dare and they made a challenge and whatnot, as you start reading through the article, they talk about some of the tools that they've downloaded and whatnot, right? Like how easy it is to use hacking tools that are just downloaded from the internet, right? Breaking passwords and security protocols. But like the gist of some of this that I read here, it's not great cybersecurity when it comes from the teachers and the administrators either, right? As I look at some of this stuff, I'm like, I don't know if you get some of these tools that are online are very basic when it comes to guessing passwords and things of that nature, right? But these kids over there in London, man, they're trying to get it in. They're trying to get into the cybersecurity field. But yeah, they talk about what they took, the systems that stored personal information, right? Names, home address, school records, health data, emergency contacts, things of that nature. This is kind of weird because I don't want to say it's kind of weird, but this is one of those things where we talk about it on the show about soft targets, right? And like local governments and schools and hospitals and things of that nature. Usually the threat's coming from inside, the call's not coming from inside the house, right? But that's what's happening here is these kids are going out, like I said, doing it on a dare. And they've been arrested for this, right? Like, so some of these teen hackers have been arrested for this, right? So the UK is taking it serious, right? They're not just like, kids will be kids, you know what I mean? But you gotta, kids, don't go out there doing this type of stuff, right? Don't go out there hacking something on your own and be like, hey, I was doing it for fun, or I was doing it to prove that your security wasn't so great. But yeah, Information Commissioner's Office in London, they're seeing a trend of this, right? And it's a little troubling that, it's an insider threat that's out here making these things happen. But Ryan, what's your thoughts on this, man?
Yeah, no, I'm aligned with you on it. I think the problem is that it's a lack of not just in the UK but just in general, I believe, at least from my knowledge in the States and what we're seeing in the UK, right? I can't talk about every country. It's a lack of education on the kids' part. They're not being necessarily told what hacking is, how it's unlawful unless you've been, basically invited and signed a contract and things of that nature, right? Like 101 of ethical hacking. So I think it's a matter of better education on the school's part, like maybe add this to some kind of curriculum or something like that to give them the terminology and verbiage to then understand what they're doing is incorrect. So I do the teaching every year that I can squeeze in there. So I've been following my son through, I want to say, it's either second or third grade. I did the first one. And I used to come in and I talk about phishing and things of that nature because it's fun for me, but also I get to see the kids, think about it and talk about it and things of that nature. So it's also educational. And a lot of them are aware of what phishing is and not to share their passwords and things of that nature. But I don't think they're being taught or introduced to hacking aside from movies and things of that nature, right? It just looks cool. And what is hacking, right? Like me poking around in files and things of that nature, is that hacking? Like they don't necessarily know that what they're doing is unethical and incorrect, or the ramifications of it if they were to be caught. But I think the second part is a fall on the school's part for even having the capability for them to download tools. Because just because like so they download some software and they use it and it's causing this issue. But what happens when the bad guys start planning nefarious things in that software, right? Because now this is a new vector to get them into the school. Like, oh, some kid's going to download this, or somebody's going to download this, and then I can, you know, when they unzip it, there'll be more than just the tool in there. There'll be, malware and things of that nature. And I can't really say like, oh, kids aren't smart, things of that nature, because, like LimeWare, BearShare, Rhapsody, Napster, right? Like our generation was downloading a lot of movies and music, and a lot of those peer-to-peer software, as well as shareware, yeah, as well as what we were downloading. A lot of that was not always like that. That might not be, the latest song that we downloaded. It might be the latest song plus a little bit extra, right? You're pulling some viruses and things of that nature into your home. So I think it's just a matter of education on both the kids and the schools.
So I can give you that for the younger kids, right? Like they mentioned in the article, children as young as 7, right? You go 7, 9, 10, you know what I mean? I can give you that. But when you start getting into your teenage years, and like they even talk about some of these universities, right? That are getting hacked over there, right? Like you know better at that age. Like you shouldn't be doing those types of things. And in some of them they were changing grades. You know what I mean? So like they know what they're doing. Like they're changing grades or accessing stuff they shouldn't have. So I don't know. To a certain extent, I'm willing to give a little bit of grace. Nah, some kid that's old enough to drive, on the on the other side of the road over there in London, you know better. So that's just me.
Yeah, no, I actually in both both ways, right? Like I think you are correct as well. But again, I think it just comes down to education, like the hammer at home. Like you will get in trouble for this. It's the same thing when it comes to them sharing pictures of each other, right? Like when it comes to cyberbullying as well as sharing inappropriate pictures, you have to tell kids like, listen, just because you're a kid doesn't mean that you can have this material, because like you're also gonna get put on a register somewhere, even though you're a child yourself. So you should not have this, or you should not share this. It's I don't want to say kids are dumb or anything like that, but they're uneducated in this respect, right? They don't have that knowledge. They're not paying attention. It's replace dumb with ignorant. It still sounds just as bad as to call a kid ignorant.
But I was thinking the same exact thing. No, I was like, it's ignorance. It's not necessarily them being dumb, but yeah, I was thinking the
Yeah.
same word.
So it's like I catch 22 on that part. But without
So,
further, oh, go ahead.
so hold on. So before we go forward, so
Yeah.
do you think there should be like some type of I don't want to say a EULA or something like that, like for them to have before they get on these systems at these schools? Like, and this is assuming we're doing it at school. They could be doing it at home. They could be, because like for my children, they have a system I can log into and see grades, right? Like if I put some teacher's information in there, maybe I see something different. You know what I mean?
Right. I think it's mostly inside the school, because that would be the like unless they're advanced, in order to beat the portal and get in there, and then again they're downloading tools and things of that nature. But I think the chance of this being an insider threat is much higher, because then they'll already have access to certain files and folders and things of that nature from the intranet or whatever their school has. So I think that quote unquote hacking is an inside job by the kids for the most part. But no, I think it goes further than that, because nobody reads a EULA. So I think you actually have to do like an introduction class, like maybe the first week of school when they're really just going over the rules and things of that nature. Like you have somebody come in, or a teacher who's a little bit more educated on what is and is not okay when it comes to access. Just talk to the kids. I think that would go further than having them read.
So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it was just my school, right? So like for the children that are young, right, that may not actually understand, if you have them do the EULA, right? Do you remember in school, and again, maybe it was just us, where they would have children take turns reading stuff out of the book? Like you're going to go through that EULA, read all 30 paragraphs. Like, okay, Shannon, you take this one, other Shannon that was in school with me, right? There was 2 male Shannons, it's crazy. like you read this part, you know what I mean? So that way everybody is hearing it out loud, and it's going to take some time, right? But you can prevent these type of things, but it may not be that important to them, right? They're like, whatever. It may not be that big a deal, but for the younger crowd, like make them go through and read it and understand, and to ask them, hey, do you understand what you just read? Tell me. Okay, show me you understand what we just went through.
Maybe both. I don't. I honestly I don't know, but I think it's not being addressed, and that's the problem. I think for the most part, you would have 50% more of these kids not doing this if they knew ahead of time, right? Like some kids are still going to touch, like you said, touch the stove. It's just like some kids just learn through, uh, you know, doing the thing. Fortunately, but I think you would have a lot less children, in endangering themselves, endangering the school if you just made it part of the curriculum in some respect, right? Have the gym teacher do it. Like you're not playing dodgeball until I go over this, but most likely whatever that IT curriculum or whatever, like stick in there as well. But without further ado, Shannon, I'll give you the next topic.
All right, everybody. This one comes from federalnewsnetwork.com, written by Justin Doubleday. And it says CISA fired up, in quotes again. The last two have had quotes in their title, right? To chart new vision for CVE program, right? So we all know of the CVE. Let me not say we all know. Let me not assume everybody knows about the Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures program, right? But the CVE program has been out there for a long time. It's been one of the tools that DoD uses religiously, right, to see different vulnerabilities that are out there, how to combat them. But what they're talking about in this article, right, is that the top cybersecurity official is looking to bring more quality, in quotes again, to the CVE catalog, right? And it's not a great read. If you ever log on and look at the CVE catalog, like the way it's laid out and everything, you're like, it's kind of boring. I'm kind of used to it now, right? I've been seeing it for 20 plus years. You know what I mean? But yes, the new Nick Anderson, who is CISA's Executive Assistant Director for Cybersecurity, discussed changing the CVE program, right? And kind of making it a little different and kind of making it evolve with how things are going today, right? So their vision for the future of CVE, they brought up a couple things, right? So they talk about expansion of community partnerships, right? So they try to leverage partnerships for better representation, especially when it comes to the international realm, right? Like we can't just assume that whatever we're seeing in America is all that is happening, right? There are things that start in other countries that very well may affect the United States as well and affect the United States government, right? So they talk about doing better with their partnerships, right? Government sponsorship. Modernization is another thing, right? How they're going to do modernization, I don't know how they're going to do that. Whether it be some type of incorporation of AI, I'm not sure how they would go about doing that because again, it's a database, right, to show you what things are. So I don't know how the incorporation of AI. Not saying it can't be done, but I don't know how they would go about modernization in that aspect, right? So transparency and communications is another thing that I don't understand. It's not like they're not transparent with what is on the list. It's not like you have to go behind a paywall or anything like that. Like what is there is there. You can read everything you need to do when you look at the CVE sites. I'm kind of curious what they mean by that. Like they give an example. They say CISA will actively seek and incorporate community feedback into program roadmap decisions and maintain regular communications and engagement with global partners. That's transparency and communications. But I'm like, if you're gonna already work on the partnership with the international partners, I don't understand what this really means, right? Probably needed another bullet point. I don't know. And then data quality improvements, right? So just new standardization, federated mechanisms, vulnerability data enrichment, things like that, right? So they're just trying to make it better. Me personally, because I've been looking at it for so long and I've used it for so long, I'm like, okay, well let's see what it can do. I don't see the need for change, but maybe it's because I'm a fuddy-duddy, right? I'm like, yeah, I can read it. I know what to do. I click on this, go down here, shows me this, takes me here. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Maybe they just want to make it easier, and maybe it's the young kid brains, right? Like maybe they're like, I need to see it differently, displayed to me differently, right? I don't see any emojis on here, so I don't know how to deal with this. Maybe that's what it is. But Ryan, what's your thoughts on this?
I was thinking the same thing, but like how Microsoft always changes their products, and then you get frustrated because you're like, it was fine the way it was. Why are you moving stuff around? But yeah, so not. I think this initiative is great, because they're showing care, right? Like this database is very important. So like you said you dealt with it, for 20 years. Like this was your bread and butter when it came to your career field, finding those vulnerabilities or documenting them and things of that nature. On my side, we use it tangentially, right? Like mostly this information came from you guys, or it was wrapped up in like a DISA or something like that, where we had to do some patching. So I had a couple degrees of separation between me and it. But nowadays, like it feels as though the bad guys use it better than the good guys, right? Because it's a repository of potential for them. Which one of these things have you not passed out of your system?
But that's not the database's fault, right? Like that's the
No,
administrators
yeah,
themselves not doing their job.
No, I agree. I agree. But it just seems as though it's a more useful tool for the bad guys than the good guys right now. Just because, uh, again, like I guess I'm trying to explain like my thought process around it. So like the bad guys see it as a pool of potential. Like here are all the things I could potentially do to you if you have not patched out your system. The good guys see it as analysis paralysis, right? Like they're just like, there's too much stuff that I have not passed out of my system. So when I think of modernization, I kind of think of not necessarily just moving the widgets around, but somehow adding AI hooks to it, so it's not as daunting. Because for the most part, like if you're a layman and you need to patch your servers or whatever, like Windows, like if you have a Windows environment, right? Because I know Windows better than I know any other environment. It's going to tell you, like, here are all the things you need to do. Here are all of the patches you're missing. Here's all your vulnerabilities. Windows Defender will call it out for you, like, do this, and they're not, right? It could be because they're just not paying attention, or they don't have anybody to work that, or they have other priorities, right? And for the most part, it'll automatically do it itself. I think when you get to those, at scale, when you get to those companies that are a little bit bigger, right? It's not a mom and pop, but it's not necessarily like, a booming business yet. I think those would be the most vulnerable, in that you do need a person to do your patching, because you have some on-prem stuff, like you've grown to a certain extent. Now you have maybe, you're taking payments, you're not taking care of your PCI DSS, requirements, or you're collecting PII, PHI, something to that extent. And you're not necessarily protecting people's data the way you should. You're not patching the way you should on a regular basis, right? Like you don't have that cadence, that schedule, because you need that person, right? You've grown to the point where you need a person, but your budget hasn't grown to the point where you can pay a person. So like you're like stuck in this bad loop, and the database isn't necessarily going to help you, right? And most likely you're not even going to look at it. So maybe some automation hooks in it to some extent that can help you to address these things in a quicker manner. Like I can't really, because we're going to talk about in our next topic about AI and how they're trying to incorporate it more into frameworks for automation. So I think in that regard, like maybe just because, like you said, the language is plain. It's not overly complicated. It tells you what it is and what you need to do with it. So I would think like maybe you're adding some kind of pipeline to it to get things done in a certain way. Like maybe that's the future. Because again, like the bad guys, like it's great. It's a great tool to look out and see, like, okay, here are the things. Here are all of the vulnerabilities that have been documented, what it can do to the person. Now let me see how I can leverage these on company A, company B, etc. And that's not going to go away. That's not going to change, because you don't necessarily retrofit a tool or change a tool because uh you know bad people can easily read through it and use it, right? Like that'd be like you'd have to you, uh, go into book banning and things of that nature, right? Just because the material's there doesn't mean that you need to get rid of it because somebody's going to use it for nefarious reasons, right? So it has to be on the side of, in my opinion, what they're trying to fix is the side of the people who are not using it for patching their systems and fixing their vulnerabilities.
I could tell you right now, with a lot of these like scanning systems that are looking for vulnerabilities and whatnot, they will reference back to CVEs, right? They'll reference back to different things, right? They'll reference back to the solution page, whether it be Microsoft, Red Hat, whatever it may be, right? So if you're doing that like you were supposed to, you will see it referenced, and you can be like, okay, this is what I need to go look for. But to the point you were making about the businesses that were growing, that are probably more vulnerable, right? Not the mom and pops, not the big ones, but the kind of in betweens. Before they expand, so this is what we talk about all the time. Before you start expanding, don't just think about it from an aspect, and I know this is what happens. You think of an aspect of, okay, we're very successful here. We add another location, another location will be even more successful. We'll make more money in sales or whatever it may be, right? This is why cybersecurity needs to be thought of in the beginning, right? Like if you're going to expand, you are opening yourself up. You have more attack vectors for people to get into, right? As you there's more opportunities for people to go in and do things that you don't want them to do, right? So this is why security needs to be one of those things that's thought of in the beginning, right? You have to bake it in, don't bolt it on, right? So
No, I
yeah,
completely, no, I
unfortunately,
completely,
I think you're right. I think
yeah,
you're right with
yeah.
who it is that's vulnerable there.
No, I completely agree. So when I think of, because we just talked about like kids and curriculum, right? Like adding it to their curriculum in some form or fashion, so they have a better understanding, not only because it's hard to just say, here's what hacking is, right? Like you have to give them the vocabulary to know and discern what this thing is and how it can be impactful. Could the same thing be said about, those pursuing their MBAs and things of that nature, right? Those going through courses to start their own business, like if you're going through like the VA or things of that nature. Like, is there a case to be said where this needs to be cybersecurity in general, right? Needs to be more practical and implemented into business at the educational layer, right? Because some people will never go to school; they'll just start a business and thrive. But a lot of people, pursue either that's their primary, right? They're going through trying to get their MBA, or it's their, I'm going back to school because I'm going to start a business and I want to understand a little bit more. Because even myself, I want to go back and get like a certificate or something like that in business. Because I just because I'm the opposite, right? Like I think about cybersecurity primarily, and then it's like, well, how does this other business stuff work? Let me just go to YouTube and try to figure it out, right? How do I scale and things of that nature? And I would like to take a class or a course or get some kind of certificate to help me get those building blocks when it comes to educate myself on how businesses work and how to scale and things of that nature. So it could be an education thing because it's very hard for me to think of business first. Like I think of like I send you guys in the chat all the time. Like, hey, I'm thinking about this. Like, here's this campaign I'm thinking about running. Yada yada yada. But it doesn't come naturally, right? Because it's like, well, how do I get more contracts? How do I get more people to buy my services? Then I have to go do research, things of that nature, which I'm sure other people have to do as well. But on the flip side, when I think of a business person, right, like their mindset is like grow, do development, shake hands, make, things that help grow my business. The last thing to think about is cybersecurity in that respect. So maybe it's just a matter of baking it into the curriculum, so to speak.
So I disagree a little bit because of things that are just happening out in the public eye, right? So because like even if they're not paying attention to cybersecurity, right? They're paying attention to the fact that Verizon got hacked, Target got hacked, Walmart got hacked, whatever it may be, T-Mobile got hacked, right? You would think it's something in their head that like even themselves, right? Like they could have been victims of something themselves where they got an email that says, hey, this, that, and the third happened. You would think even then, like even if they're not big on cybersecurity, they'd be like, maybe I should look into that a little bit, right? Like because I'm seeing like even these major players that are bigger than me just starting out are having issues with this. Maybe I should look into it a little bit, whether it be that they handle the risk in-house or they transfer it to someone else to take care of it for them, right? I don't know, man. It just the way of the world right now. Like this show goes on every week because it seems like every week there's some type of major cybersecurity thing that we need to bring to the people. You know what I mean?
Right. And yeah,
Right.
I don't disagree at all. But it's again, it's like mindset. I think that they see it and they're just like, man, that sucks to be them. And so I'm just gonna keep doing my thing and growing and scaling or whatever until they hit a point of governance or regulation, right? They hit a wall at some point, or they reach an obstacle. Was like if you want this, like case in point, CMMC 2.0, right? So now it's official, it's out there. Final it's finally been
Final draft, yeah,
yeah,
final
the final
version.
draft has been approved. So they have 60 days to get ready. But that 60 days is in addition to the 4.5 years we've been talking about this, right? And a lot of people have not done anything. So now they're going to start to get right, to spend money that they could have otherwise spent less, to prepare for the new C rules being put into contracts and things of that nature, because it was the last thing on their mind. They're just like, the government won't figure this out. I need to expand and do and grow. And some are already caught up in it because of the bigger primes baking it in to their pipelines, right? They're just like, okay, we need to get ahead of this. But man, I've worked with or worked for some companies. It's like, I'll get to it when they make me get to it, and now they have 60 days to get it ready for it, right? Which it will cost them a lot more money. But they're like, why spend this money or this spend my wheels in this effort when they haven't even approved the regulation yet? Which I believe to not be a good mindset, um, and advantageous for me because hey, if you need a level 1 self-assessment help, I got you. If you need level 2 readiness assessment before you pay a C3 PAO, I got you. Ram Cyber has you. We got your back, right? But you did have almost 5 years to figure this out before we got to this point. And I think that's just the way it is across the board. They're just like, until I run into regulation, I'm just not going to do that. It's not. It's on my
It's
list,
on.
but it's not on top of my list.
You're right. You're right, man. You're
So
right.
I don't know. But again, Ram Cyber can help you out with that. do my little promo. So we'll see. But I think like in this case, the CVE, like I think it is a great product. I'm glad they kept it because remember it was on the chopping block at one point. It's like, oh, don't do that. And now they're talking about expanding and making it better, which is good. So right, there's yeah, some energy behind it. But I think it's gonna have to be. I think they're looking for AI hooks. I think that's what they're looking for, which leads us into our next topic. So I give it to you.
All right, everybody. So this article comes from breakingdefense.com, and it's written by Sidney J. Freeberg Jr. And the title of this one is AI for ATO. Pentagon seeks AI to streamline cumbersome cybersecurity processes. No quotes in the title on this one, right? But what they're talking about here is incorporating AI into now, in the article, I want to do a little bit of specification here. In the article, they specify doing it for ATO processes, but what they're talking about doing it for is like what they mentioned when they're showing their examples is for software. Software does not get ATO'd; it gets a CTF, a certificate to field, right? So it's not exactly the same. And they talk about how an ATO can take a year. Yes, that is true. But if we're being honest here, a lot of that is a matter of finances not being available, right? Like funding going to the system, right? Like if you're going to ATO something, you're going to ATO a system, not just software. Funding not going to it. It could be people in the chain, right? Like not getting around to something. Like I tell you right now, there's situations where you will have an AO or an AODR. I know the Army still uses the term DAO, which is the older term in RML. They are stretched so thin when it comes to things that they need to do, right? And like you'll see, and I see this where it'll be the same AO for multiple systems, right? But it kind of leads to the same type of area. But neither here nor there. The fact that it takes a year, it's manning and it's money. Can AI help? Yes, it can, right? Like, because there's certain things you have to do to get an ATO, right? You have to make sure you're scanning. You have to make sure you're auditing. You have to make sure you're stigging. That is the avenues where AI can definitely help, right? It can do those things for you. But I know, and in this article they reference, it was the Marines that actually say they got an ATO in 30 days. And I'm not quite clear what they got, if it was an actual ATO for a system or a CTF for software, right? Because they're kind of interchanging terminology here. And I don't know exactly what happened because they keep referencing software, development and things of that nature. And yes, it can be. And if I'm being honest, like a year is a little long for software, right? I haven't seen it take that long, but again, it's how important it is to the people that are in charge of taking care of those duties. But it would be nice to have ATOs take less time, right? And have something in there that'll make it a little bit faster. But knowing what goes into it, there still needs to be a human element to say, yes, this is good, bad, and different, right? Because they talk in here about how they showed the final results of an AI cyber challenge, right? And they had 7 AIs that competed to find and fix problems in 54 million lines of code, right, from real world software. So DARPA did this, right? And they deliberately introduced, I want to say it was 70 cybersecurity vulnerabilities. Yes. And the AIs collectively found 54 of them. So 77%. And that's not bad, right? That's not a bad percentage, right? It's not 100, which is what you want, right? You want as close to 100 as possible. And it auto patched 43. But it did mention in here, which was kind of interesting, which was kind of cool. The AIs found 18 vulnerabilities that DARPA hadn't put in there, right? So genuine 0-day threats got patched out of there, right? So this is where it helps, right? Where there's stuff that the 0 days are always things you don't know what you don't know, right? And it comes up and you hope you can get to it and patch it before the bad guys have the ability to do what's needed. Here's the thing. Here's the point. For the point of the discussion, though, I'm not against it, but I needed clarity on what we're trying to do here. If we're trying to do it for software, great. That's awesome, right? Let's get the CTFs for software. If it's for ATO of a system, there's a lot of moving pieces to that where doing it in 30 days, I don't think is actually realistic based on how we do things now. But that's for AI to figure out, right? AI and the bigger brains than me, right? So, Ryan, what's your thoughts on that?
No, I think that's great that you brought that clarity, like because I just read it at face value because ATOs never really like I've worked pieces, right? Like you said, it's a lot of moving pieces to it. So like I'm the guy who's talking about the network or in this case cybersecurity things of that nature, but it's never really been I've never been on the guy in charge of the package, like making it right. The PM, PMO, whomever is pushing this around. So that's great knowledge because I didn't know the difference between the two. So you educated me on this call as well. So I'm going to say something that some people are not going to like, right? I'm going to be an old fuddy duddy because I'm big into AI. I love AI, and I think it's really cool that it found 0 days that DARPA didn't even know were there. I don't like the line, and I don't know if I'll be able to find it because I'm kind of putting myself on the spot here. There's a line in here basically it was like it'll make it cheaper. It should not make it cheaper. Like that is where I draw my line in the sand. Whenever you're implementing these new things, like it should be less expensive and it should be more efficient. It should not be cheaper. That's the elimination of a job. That's elimination of a an FTE or a 1099 or benefits in general. That's what they're saying when they say when things become cheaper. Things do not become cheaper when you're dealing with people. This should be an augmentation tool. So your budget should slightly be larger. Shouldn't be exorbitant because you're not paying for another FTE, where you have to care, feed, and give benefits to. Because you have to do that with AI. You're paying for like a license or something like that. So I do not like that. Like that should not be a thing. And your budget should not get like maybe from the standpoint, like because maybe I'm digging my heels in too deep. Maybe they're just saying because they're able to find these 0 days and things of that nature, they won't have to pay on the back end when it comes to fines and fees and you know uh, to fix things after the fact because that's when it becomes more expensive. But up front, what I'm saying is when you buy a license for whatever this tool is, your budget should slightly expand, right? Like if your budgets are being reduced, that means that you're cutting headcount. I do not believe that's the future of cybersecurity, or should not be the future of cybersecurity. Like because these tools, like it shows stats are crazy. It found 70% of it, which is awesome, and then it found another 18 vulnerabilities they didn't even know were there. Uh, you still need a person in the middle, right? Like you cannot let these things just go buck wild in your environment because someone has to sanity check it. Someone has to make sure it's doing what it's supposed to do. But your person will now be closer to 100% because like they will have found a lot of the vulnerabilities it missed, or they will find something that it did not see, or vice versa. And together, right, man and machine together will make for a better product. But
And
I do not want them to cut headcount.
no, I feel you. I didn't pick up on that. I know they were talking about making it faster, and I probably read it and just glossed over it, like whatever.
Or I'm
But
paranoid.
no, you're right. Your logic is sound, right? And what you're saying, like I understand what you're saying, and it does make sense. But it's kind of odd too. They mention in here about how it does the auto patching and things. That's not always a good thing either. Yes, it can be a good thing, right? Like some of the things that's like, yep, I know, install that is fine. But you have to test some of this stuff too. Like you can lose functionality of your system if you just go ahead and just put something on there and it's like, okay, well now we can't do this anymore, right? Like this is where your ISOs and your isms, this and your sysads come into play, right? Like you have to find a mitigation for this too. You still want the functionality of the system, but you still want security, right? So how are we going to mitigate that? Okay, we can't install this patch, or we can't install this STIG. We have to do something different that still meets the spirit of meets the intention of the STIG or the patch. And that's where the people come in, right? You can't rely on AI because AI is just like, yep, I got a job to do. I'm going to fix it, right? Patched, done, right? Yeah, you did that, right? And it comes to this success. But like now, let's go back and look at the functionality. Do we still have it? Can we still access this, that, and the third? Right? Those are things that need to come into play. And it's tedious. Trust me, it's tedious. Could be writing memos for mitigations and things of that nature. It's crazy. I get it, but it's not an all for one thing just to say the AI can patch it, can find it and patch it. It's not always.
Yeah, and again, like my spidey senses go up because I'm seeing a lot of articles where you have like CEOs of pretty big companies saying like we have 1,400 people in this department, and because of our implementation of AI, we can reduce it to 200. So that's a boon for them, right? Like they're gonna not have to pay benefits. They're gonna have to deal with claims and things of that nature when it comes to healthcare. They're gonna save a ton of money, and then a year later they're like, this was a mistake. So I'm fearful that they're leaning too forward, and I don't want that, like you said, because of in the Department of Defense, especially like just from my smaller aperture when I worked at the NAS, like when you look at a product like a Microsoft product, it has to be fine tuned for each COCOM, right? Each command, because they have special tools and they need special capabilities because it's not cuts across the board. Like so, your mom and pop to even your mid-sized business will have a lot of commercial off the shelf software that could just function as is. But as you start to scale and get bigger, right? You have people who are making tailored software, or they're taking like us, like Splunk is cool, but for our implementation, we need to add these features to it, or we need to design this thing that goes overhead, right? Like, or we're using a commercial vendor like AWS, but we need to have OpenShift on top of it because of our implementation of how we do business. So as that begins to become more and more unique, you can't simply rely on AI across the board because it's like you said, it's going to cut off functionality because of risk. It's not to say you can't train it to not do that, but it's it's ever moving, right? Like that line anyway, that finish line is always moving as your company becomes bigger and more unique. Especially like if you're vendor agnostic, you might have an environment where you have AWS and GCP and so on and so forth, or it might be some Oracle in there or something like that, and then you throw something on top of it. I just think you're always going to need a person, and you're just going to make that person better and more capable, more efficient. You're going to reduce your risk, and you're going to be more efficient, but you're still going to need that person. And and like somebody's going to listen to this, going to be they're going to put this podcast in a time capsule. 200 years from now, they're going to crack it open like, he was so dumb. We don't need people. In fact, we're not people. Right. So I don't know, but we will definitely see. But yeah, I'm glad that they're thinking about it. I'm glad that DARPA's running these tests because that's awesome. That's really cool that they're figuring it out. I just want them to strap it on a person. It should be a utility added to somebody's belt as opposed to replacing the person for multiple reasons. But I digress. So before we move on to our weekends, I want to make sure I point out because I always forget. Go to ramcyber.io if you're looking for services, things of that nature. CMC 2.0 is out there. It's out and about in the world. So hit me up if you need help with your level 1 or preparation for your level 2. Hit up theothersideofthefirewall.com where you can pick up the guide, right? So the guide is broken into 10 chapters and multiple categories, but we talk about the career and life experiences of people broken into cybersecurity from the perspective of myself, from veterans, women, people of color, career switchers, and neurodivergent professionals. I think the guide is awesome. I'm also biased, but you should buy it and then let me know if I'm right or wrong. And then last but not least, definitely continue to check out the podcast on all the platforms as available, as well as WDJY 99.1 FM, Tuesdays, 5 o'clock in the Atlanta metro area, as well as it's simulcast on the TuneIn app. And then you can check us out on a weekly basis on Channel 10 in the DC Fairfax area, public access. And then hit up our partners, right? You got Dem Tech folks, right? Develop Every Mind Tech folks, as well as Stats on Stats is an awesome podcast as well. You should check out. But without further ado, Shannon, how was your week?
It could have started a little bit better. Sunday night wasn't good. The Bills got us.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That old thing. That old thing. Yeah.
My signal is breaking up. Man, I saw it coming. Like we were communicating.
I did not see it coming.
I saw it coming. That's why I told you because you were like, man, I don't know. I was like, look, man, there ain't an MVP. Might have some tricks up his sleeve. Like I could see we were giving too much space to somebody as good as Josh Allen is, right? Like it got to a point where he was just dotting us up on the sidelines and he was just doing whatever he wanted at will when he was throwing the ball down the field. And I was like, stop doing it. Like this is how we started. This is how we started last year. Like, and like it's week 2, right? We're coming up on week 2. We play who are we playing? The Browns, right? Browns aren't that good, right? I said this last year. Last year was the Raiders week 2, right? And I was like, okay, it's the get right game because we lost to the Chiefs. I was like, okay, we lost that game. We came back. We almost got it. We missed it by like a toe out of bounds, right? It's the get right game. And what happens? We go up big on the Raiders and then they come back and they win it. And I'm like, we're starting like we did last year. At this point, I'm like, I love my team, right? Like for those of you watching video, I still got my Ravens, right? My flock around and find out shirt is in effect. You know what I mean? I don't, if this defensive coordinator, right, if he cannot handle it and we have to bring in another advisor that's a former defensive coordinator like we did last year, you don't deserve the job. Get out of here, right? Like there comes a point where it's like, because we were up by 15 a couple times. It was 34-19, right? And then we go up. It was 40-25. I'm like, come on now. Like you can't lose. Like y'all won that game. Y'all won that game with 4 minutes left. That's what it was. With 4 minutes left, we were up by 15, and y'all scored 16 unanswered points in 4 minutes. Good for Josh Allen. I hope to never see him again. If I do see him again, I don't wish bad on him, but maybe he gets the flu or something. Something he can
No,
recover.
no, no, we don't want that.
I don't want to end his career. Like, he does a good job for you guys, but maybe he catches the flu or something like that and can't play. But it was not good. But they got us, so like that's why I was like, hey man, stick around. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, I was locked in, but I gave you your congratulations a little too early. It's not because
Yes.
Josh Allen browbeat us after the game. Like, it's not that I didn't believe in the Bills. I was just like, we played a good game. Unfortunately, like we could not stop Derrick Henry. He was running all over us. Not many people can stop
Again.
him.
Again.
Yeah, he was running all over us. And then Flowers, like he was getting open. He was making space. So I was just like, they got the best of us. And then that fumble happened. And then it was like I don't know. The
But
spirit.
Ryan, even with that, even though that was an inopportune time for that to happen, that's not what did us in, right? Like the defense you can't lay off the reigning MVP like
Mhm.
that. You got to keep bringing that pressure or he's going to make it happen. And he did, right? So like, even though it was inopportune, like when you guys went down to score, we were still up by 8 on 4th and 3. Here's where it gets me. On 4th and 3, we should have went for it. We punted it away.
Yes, yeah, you
Like the
should have went
defense
for it.
was stopping nobody. Like I can't remember off the top of my head. It probably did happen. I don't remember y'all stopping Lamar. If we would have run a quarterback power with Lamar, I don't remember him getting less than 8 yards on any run he did that night. Like he was on it. Like y'all couldn't stop him, right? When he got the ball and ran with it. So I was like, 4th and 3, like what do you see in the defense that leads you to trust them to they'll make this happen and
Well,
they'll come
rest
back?
rest on their laurels in that respect.
I guess.
But yeah, that was a crazy game, historic game,
It's
if
a
you
good
will.
game.
That went in our favor because there's a lot of historic games that are not on the Bills' side. I'll tell you that much. They show a lot of recaps on ESPN. They were like, "Remember this? That was
Yeah.
against us." Like, so yeah, I was very. That was definitely an awesome finish to the game. Like anytime the kicker gets lifted up, Rudy style, and carried off the field, it was a good game.
Right at the end, man. They pulled it out. Congrats to him. I sent it, but I don't know, man. I blame our defensive coordinator more than I do Josh Allen. Like, stay on him. Like, don't give him the opportunity. But y'all got it, so it's what it is, right?
Yeah, we played the Jets this week,
And
and
look, the
again,
Jets looked good the first week, man.
yeah, I was like, huh, the Jets haven't been competitive in years.
Yeah, they lost to Pittsburgh, but they look good. So I don't know. And their defense, it's better than ours looked. Like here's the thing: you don't. At least in the pros, you don't expect a team to put up 40 and lose a game. Like we put up 40 points, y'all put up 41.
Yeah, it was
Like how's that?
historic. Yeah, historic.
Yeah,
Like I don't think a team has ever done that. But like, again, I can't talk too much crap because the Bills have been on the wrong side of a lot of history. We've made history.
but so the week didn't start off well, but it's what it is. We're gonna get right this week. Hopefully I didn't jinx this. We're gonna get right this week against the Browns. We'll see. But see, what else did I do? I watched, and I know you watched it too, Highest to Lowest on Apple TV, man. I remember last week I had just started it and I was only like maybe 20, 25 minutes in. And I was like, it's to a point where, this happened and then I didn't like it. I wasn't thrilled with it, man. What you think? I know what you think, but tell the people what you think about it.
I don't know that movie doesn't need to exist, right? Like it has a lot of my favorite actors in it. A lot of my favorite actors in it. Um, it's a remake of some sort. He's done it before, right? With like Old Boy. So he did Old Boy was like a Japanese either movie or book or something like that. So this one is
Did
based on
he do that one? Did he do that one?
yeah, Old Boy is Spike.
That
Yeah,
did they play Thanos? That's what you're talking about? Or am I thinking
yeah,
about a different movie?
yeah. You talking about yeah,
What?
same movie.
Brolin, Josh Brolin, right?
Yeah,
What? Okay,
yeah.
I did
That's
not know
that's
that.
Spike joint.
Okay.
That's the thing about Spike Lee. Like he's very it's hit or miss, right? Like because my wife and I were talking about it too. Like he has a lot of bangers, right? Like of course you got like Jungle Fever and you got Crooklyn and you got I thought Oh Boy was pretty good actually. You got Malcolm X and you got Inside Man. Like he has a lot of jams, like Miracle at Santa Ana, like that. I keep telling people to check that one out. A lot of people have not watched that movie. It is a really good war movie, dealing with a all black company and how they had to deal with. I think they're in Italy, um, but just like propaganda and like the way they're being treated better by the citizens they were helping out than they were by the Americans, right? That they had to go back home to. The Summer of Sam, right? Like he does some. He got game is where I put this one, where it's like he got game was only good because it has nostalgia for me, right? But there was a lot of bad acting in that movie, and Denzel could not pull it out of the hole it was digging for itself. I felt like that was what this movie was as well. Like it just felt like a bunch of bad acting.
It really did, and I don't know why. And this is based off. It was based off. I think it was a novel called High to Low. I think is what I saw when I was watching it. So
Yeah.
he's called it Highest to Lowest, but it's based off a book, High to Low. But Spike almost always has source material, and I will tell you this, like, and him working with Denzel. I'm gonna try to call him by his right name. Right?
Nah, it's it's always gonna be Denzel.
I know I've done it for years, but
That man is
Denzel.
like 72, 73. There's a point in it where he's running and she called it out. She was like, that's not him.
Yes, yes. So yes, I saw that, and I was like, yeah, he's a little old for this, and I was like, no, that don't look
Yeah.
like him.
Because
And
that
then
dude was running.
it's crazy because in the credits they do have a stand-in for him. Like
Do they?
there
Okay.
somebody. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, yeah, he's too big to be risking it with that, right? Pull his hamstrings off the bone.
Off the phone.
Yeah, but but no, it left something to be desired. And like I said, Spike always has some type of source material. And I will tell you this, like I've read the autobiography of Malcolm X a few times, several times actually. And when he did Malcolm X, there was a lot that he stuck to in the source material that I was like, man, it made it a really good movie, even though it's very long, right? But so is the autobiography, right? Like if you read the autobiography of Malcolm X, it is long, but he did a very good job of sticking to the source material. And again, it's through Malcolm's words, right? So like at that point, it's like you can't go wrong with this. And there's some embellishment, right? As is with everything in Hollywood, there is some embellishment. But yeah, that one I don't think I'd watch it again. You know what I mean? We kind of made a joke about Jeffrey Wright and something he says all the time in there, and I'm just like, like when you said when you sent me the message, I sent that back to you, and you start laughing. I was like, okay, yeah, he's cracking
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
He did. Yeah, he said he kept calling him beloved, but
I love it.
when he got the glass in his eye, that had me crying laughing because he had to keep saying, I got glass. It's as though like, okay, like people may not understand what just happened. So we need you to really, really reiterate what happened to you. He just kept, I got glass in my eye.
Numerous times, and he got glass in his eye over his glasses. Like that's the thing, right? Like he's wearing glasses, like eyeglasses, and he's like, I got glass in my eye. Okay, I get it, right? It can happen. Yeah, man, it was not your best work, Spike, but yeah, it's what it is, right? But yeah, star-studded, man. Like a lot of actors and actresses in there that I was like, man, that'd be people.
They had my man Mayhem in it. I just couldn't
Yeah.
believe. I always forget he's a real actor.
What's his name? Dean? I don't remember. I just kept expecting him to break out into a commercial thing, right?
Right.
But the other thing I watched, it was
Dean
on Apple
Winters.
TV. Dean Winters.
Yeah.
There you go. Dean Winters. He's always going to get known for that, but it's paying him good, I imagine. He's done a bunch of commercials. But the other thing I watched was Greyhound, and that was Tom Hanks. He was a captain. So when they were doing convoys of ships across the Atlantic in World War II, he was on the ship that provided protection for him. He was on the destroyer that provided protection for these convoys, and he gets his first assignment to where he's doing it, and it's a rough night. It's a rough night, man. And it's not long either. It was like an hour, 25 minutes. And it keeps your attention, right? Because of what's going on. Like every so often, like the German U-boat captain is on their frequencies. They have to change the frequency, and he's mocking them. You know what I mean? Like while he's getting at these ships. There's a few boats, right? But the one that apparently is the team leader is just getting at them. Which was kind of, it's not funny, right? But it was one of those things I was like,
terrorizing them, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But I hope you didn't like it because I've been trying to put you in that movie for a very long time. It's been years. Shannon. I was like, hey, you should watch this. You should watch this. Like, I don't mess with Apple. The movies aren't good.
It was a good movie.
I hope you did not enjoy it.
It was a good movie. But me and the wife both watched it, man. It kept our attention, and it was short, but yeah, it was good. I liked it. But no, I mean, I got Apple TV because I was going to watch F1 again, right? Which is still, they want you to buy it. I'm like, you're still at that point where you got to buy it? Like, it's an Apple thing. Like, when we going to get it for free?
It's like that with Weapons. I know Weapons just came out, but like, I can't wait for them to flip that to free. I want to see that immediately.
But try to get into the morning show. I got like 15 minutes into it, I'm like, yeah, this probably ain't for me. So
Mm.
I couldn't do it. I'll probably try it again. Played a little Madden, man. It's football season, so I watch the games, and then I'm like, I could do better on my own, and then I pick up the sticks.
You're gonna send me a screen a screen grab of you playing the Bills like
Look,
101-0.
it's gonna be like 80 to nothing. But that was it for me, man. What about you? What'd you do this week?
So I watched Highest to Lowest last night again. I just think like so again Spike Lee is he has so many classics that I really do enjoy. Like we watch Crooklyn at least once or twice a year, right? That's like one of Shamir's favorite movies. Like The Color Purple, Crooklyn. Like what's the one? Clueless. That's another one, right? Because it's a nostalgic for her. It's around that time where that movie came out. But yeah, it just didn't do it for me. Like cinematography wise, it was I think it had a lot of spikeisms. Like he kept flipping from the regular to like this more sepia yellow type vibes going on. So like he's always doing some cool stuff. Like he had the thing where obviously at some point we all have to be standing still but still moving.
On the platform. On the platform.
Yeah,
That's every Spike movie. Every
yeah,
one.
we got to do it. Like my favorite version of that is Crooklyn. Like when they're getting high off the glue and he does it. I was like that's fitting. That makes sense.
I don't know. I think I liked it more in Malcolm X, because
So
it was,
yeah, that was
it
a good
was
one.
as he was going to the hall where he
Yeah.
gets killed, and he's just got a lot on his mind because, and in the autobiography they go into it, right? Not to derail you, man. I know we're running
No, you're
short on
good. You're good.
time, but like in the autobiography, like he knew his time was coming. Just things that were happening in his life. He was like, I don't think I'm too much longer for this world, and it's him as he's going to it, and like it stops when this lady talks to him, and I'm just like, damn, you know what I mean? Like it was that was my favorite use of it.
Yeah,
But
no,
yeah,
that's a good
Inside
one.
Man too.
That's a good one.
Inside Man too. Inside Man too, because when he's coming up to the door
Hmm.
when the shooting is happening, and he's just like, that was a good one too.
Yeah, so Spike does his thing. It has a lot of funny New York isms to it as well. That's his stomping ground. Like he loves it, especially the rivalry between the Knicks and the Celtics. So that's always hilarious. But again, it's just did not land for me. Like at the end of the movie, I was just like, "Yo, can it just go off? Can we be done with this?" So I could be being too hard on him, but I don't think this. I'm not gonna watch this again. Game wise, so still playing Final Fantasy VII. Like I'm just going through Rebirth and just trying to 100% everything. So I know I'm not gonna get the platinum trophy because you have to play it again on hard, and I won't get to that. Like once I get done with this, and once I 100% everything, I might go back to it later and to finish it off. But I want any region that does not have 100% to be 100% because that's how long I've been playing it. So I think I have 3 or 4 more regions to finish out because they're giving me some bonus content right at the end because it basically tells you like you're about to get it's about to be it. You should go back and wrap up anything you want to wrap up. So I'm trying to do that. After I get done with that, I'm going to go back to Silk Song. Hollow Knight Silk Song has been blowing up. Obviously, people apparently I bought it twice. I bought it on Steam and I bought it on Switch. I gave them $40 for a free game. I had on Game Pass, but they deserve it. They are really about the community, right? They only charge you $20 for a game they could easily get 40 or 50 off of. So they're very consumer friendly. And then TV show wise, I'm caught up on Peacemaker, which is still hilarious, and Alien Earth, which I'm really feeling. Like I think they're doing a really good job. They actually had they interviewed Sigourney Weaver to ask her opinion, and she really enjoys it as well because it goes beyond just the xenomorph. So if you come in there just for the xenomorph, it's there, and there's fights and stalking and stuff like that, but it breaks down a little bit more of the world. And you know how I like the B side of things, right? Like I like the B story. Like so when it came to movies like John Wick, I'm really interested in the High Council and how does that work and what's going on behind the scenes. They're doing a lot of that where they talk about the 5 different corporations that basically run Earth because government was lacking and the corporations came in. It's very interesting how we might be headed that way as well. But it also has other aliens aside from the xenomorph, right? So you're getting to see a lot of other things that they found out there in the darkness of space and how cunning they have become. So and it also breaks down like you always had like the synthetics, right? You had people who like bled milk, right? Remember that? It's always been
Bishop. Yeah, Bishop.
yeah. So but now they're showing you have cyborgs, you have synthetics, and now you have hybrids. So there's different types of fake people as well.
So how come they never address this? One's in between Aliens and Alien 3, right? Is that where
Yeah,
this takes
yeah,
place?
yeah. So, well, no. This will be a prequel. This happens before they launch the mission with Ripley. So this is before the first Alien.
I thought you sent a timeline.
I gotta double
And
check.
it was, yeah, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I gotta double check, but yeah, it's definitely early in the series. But you know synthetics, you see them all the time, and they're always the eerie character, right? So now they have all of them on the show, and they all have kind of different personalities to a certain extent. Like they all have different motivations. So I think that's pretty cool as well. Because I don't remember there being any cyborgs. I'm sure there were. I just wasn't paying attention, but I remember the synthetics more than I remember the cyborgs in any alien movie. But now they have the hybrids, right? So they're talking about these things that um, they're robot bodies, but they have human minds, right? Like their minds basically been transported into the body of a machine, and how they're dealing with that. It's very, I think it's very interesting. It has some good action, but a lot of it is them kind of flesh out the world and preparing for, like, I know it's about to go down. Like they're building up to, like, I think this is episode 5 or 6. By the time they get to 8, it's about to be just game on. So I'm enjoying it. But that's pretty much it for me this weekend. Watch some football, mow the grass, and then probably play some games and think of new advertisements to torture you in the group with before I push them out to LinkedIn. That's my new thing, apparently. But that's pretty much it for me, man. But definitely continue to. I'm sorry, I keep clearing my throat. Like it's pretty dry in the studio today. Definitely continue to check us out. Again, we're on your podcast platform of choice. We're on WDJY 99.1 FM on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. in the Atlanta metro area. We're also on Channel 10 in the DC Fairfax, public access. Yeah. And I know I have not published the newsletter in some time. I'm getting back to it. I'm circling back, people. All right. Been kind of slammed with work, but continue to check us out. Stay safe. Stay secure.